In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed, and he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Lord's hopeful elect scattered abroad. All right, I'm the brother Taz of War, back at you again with another lesson. And this is going to be a quick breakdown from verses 1 to 8. It says Daniel chapter 7 and 2. It says, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Okay, which that great sea is the Mediterranean Sea. And those winds is the four winds, north, east, south, west. Verse 3. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. All right. Now these four great beasts that came up from the sea, diverse one from another, is in representation of the let me say the most dominant powers to rule the world. Okay. See, when we go back to Daniel's 2, all right, Daniel spoke of the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, which I believe was Nebuchadnezzar the second. Daniel said this. He said, Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image head was like the fine gold, his brass and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part iron and part clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them in pieces. Then was the iron and clay, the brass and silver, and the gold broken in pieces together, and became like the shaft of the summer's threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Okay, so we have to remember these metals. These metals, all right, these elements represent the most powerful dominant kingdoms that ruled the world. All right, the head of gold, the breast and arms of silver, the belly and thighs of brass, the legs of iron, the feet and toes part iron and part clay. So now let's go back to Daniel 7. Okay, now verse 4. It says, the first was like a lion and had eagle wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. All right, so now when it says the first was like a lion and had eagle wings, this is talking about the Assyrian Empire. Okay, because the Assyrian Empire predates the Babylonian Empire. All right, and also too, when it says the first was like the lion and had eagle wings, it goes into that that plat, that carving, which is the Assyrian griffin. Okay, the Assyrian griffin. The creature that's being described, all right, is the Assyrian griffin, represents the Assyrian Empire. You know, a plat with griffin, 8th century to 7th century BC, Assyrian. This small piece of ivory is carved in low relief with the image of a griffin, a fantastic creature that combines the body of a lion with the head of a bird of prey, depicted with or without wings. So the first was like a lion and had eagle wings. And it says, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked. All right, because this is the time when the Babylonians basically took down the Assyrian Empire, basically absorbed them. All right. And that was around 612 BCE. Okay. Now it says, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, which represents the wisdom in which the Lord gave to Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel chapter 1 verse 17. As for these 4 children, the Most High gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah therefore stood they before the king. Verse 20. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. All right. You had Daniel. Well, let me say this. The Heavenly Father gave Nebuchadnezzar, he gave them this great dream. All right. And this great dream is the kingdoms that would stand before the great kingdom of Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And he saw these kingdoms fall. And Daniel was the one to give him that understanding, in which Nebuchadnezzar made him, you know, a great, he basically put him in power. All right. Matter of fact, see here real quick, an article. He was in a high position. Okay. He made him in a high position. Okay. So now it says, and man's heart was given to it. All right. So now verse 5, it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So this other beast, a second, was the Media-Persians. All right, the Media-Persian Empire, which the Media, all right, came into power first, and then the Persians came over the Media, all right, the Medes. All right, but you had, I believe there was a great battle between Cyrus the Great, all right, the second, and he had a war with Croesus. And I believe after that battle, when it became a stalemate, they ruled together, but Persia ruled as the head and more power. All right. So that's why it says, and it raised itself on one side. All right. So basically, you call this the Media-Persian Empire. It says, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between the teeth of it. And those 3 ribs was the conquest in which Persia went on to take Media, Lydia, and Babylon. And it says, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. All right, because at this time, you know, you would be a fool to come against the Media-Persian Empire. So they devoured much flesh. Now verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now, this leopard, all right, represents the Greek Empire, but in particular, also represents Alexander the Great. Okay, Alexander the Great, which represents the Greek Empire. All right, and it says, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now, these 4 heads are the 4 generals which came into power after Alexander died. You know, we could read about that, which I'm going to get in the Maccabees. And you know what? I'm going to go there now. This is First Maccabees chapter 1. It says, and it happened after Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius the king, the Persian of the Medes, All right, because you had the Greeks, which Alexander, all right, Alexander, he took down the Medo-Persian Empire. And it says that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. It says, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And that's why he, is also a representation of the leopard. Okay. It says, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And that's what we're going into, his 4 generals. All right. And it says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. And it says, verse 10, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king. It says, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 130th and 7th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. All right, which going into that Hellenistic period. Okay, but those 4 generals that ruled was Seleucus, Ptolemy, Cassandra, and Lycomachus. All right, and I believe Seleucus took Syria, Ptolemy took Egypt, Cassandra took Macedonia, but mostly the Greece part. And then you had Lycomachus, he took Macedonia. All right. So let's see here where I was at. Okay, it says verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard. All right, represents Alexander, represents the Greeks, which had upon his back of it 4 wings of a fowl. It says the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it, representing his 4 generals. Verse 7, after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. All right, now it says, and after this I saw in the night vision, I beheld the 4th beast. Now this 4th beast represents that iron, okay, which is the great Roman Empire. All right, the dragon. It represents that pagan Roman Empire. Okay, and it said dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. All right, and that iron represents their strength, their military might. All right, they learned to war from the Spartans. Their techniques, they were strong. All right, I mean, another thing too, iron breaks brass, it breaks silver. All right, it breaks gold. All right, so it represents their might. It says their military. It says it devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now that diverse represents them being well structured. All right, they had no kings, just democracy. All right, and it's just like today with America. America is the second leg of Rome. Come back. This is in the book of Revelations 13:3. So let me get a quick highlight. This is Revelations 13:3. It says, and I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. All right, because Rome fell. Lucius Septimius Severus played a major role in the pagan Roman Empire downfall. All right, it was from 193 to about 211 AD. Roman Empire fell. Jake came in as the Holy Roman Empire. Esau got pushed into the caves. All right. And when it says deadly wound was healed, Esau was healed 1,000 years later, mid-late 1300s to 1400s. All right. Israel started to lose its power during the Byzantine Empire. And you had Esau starting back up in 1455 with the House of the Borgias, a Spanish Aragonese noble family which rose to prominence during the Italian Renaissance. So just going back to the book of Daniel's chapter 7, and where we left off was 7. It says, "And after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue of the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns." All right, so just tapping back into how Rome is diverse from the others is just looking into this word democracy. And from the Google, it says democracy. Democracy. A system of government by the whole population of all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. It says a state governed by a democracy, controlled of an organization or group by the majority of its members. Now, just looking up the Roman Republic, this here is a little article I came across. It says the Romans established a form of government, a republic, that was copied by countries for centuries. In fact, the government of the United States is based partly on Rome's model. All right, because why? America is the second leg of Rome, is Rome all over. All right, now it says, it all began when the Romans overthrew their Etruscan conquerors in 509 BCE, centered north of Rome. The Etruscans had ruled over the Romans for hundreds of years. Once free, the Romans established a republic, a government in which citizens elected representatives to rule on their behalf. A republic is quite different from a democracy, in which every citizen is expected to play an active role in governing the state. All right, so basically what it's saying is that the Roman Republic is a little slight different than a democracy. And it says in which every citizen is expected to play an active role in governing the state. So this what made Rome more diverse, okay, from all the rest of the kingdoms, from Babylon, from the Assyrian Empire, Babylon, Medo-Persian Empire, and the Greeks. All right. The aristocracy, wealthy class, dominated the early Roman Republic. In Roman society, the aristocrats were known as patricians. The highest position in the government were held by two councils or leaders who ruled the Roman Republic. A synod composed of patricians elected these councils. At this time, lower class citizens and plebeians had virtually no say in the government. Both men and women were citizens in the Roman Republic, but only men could vote. Traditions dictated that patricians and plebeians should be strictly separated. Marriage between the two classes were even prohibited. Over time, the plebeians elected their own representatives, called tribunes, who gained the power to veto measures passed by the Senate. Gradually, the plebeians obtained even more power and eventually could hold the position of council. Despite these changes, though, the patricians were still able to use their wealth to buy control and influence over elected leaders. Okay, so, all right, and this gets into the plebeian patricians, which today, all right, and America has what? the Democrats and Republicans. It's also showing you how America, it ain't nothing but more than Rome all over again. All right. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. All right. And this beast is America, which is Rome being healed. All right. And the two horns like a lamb, back in the time of Rome, as we read, you had the plebeian and patricians. And today in America, you have the Democrat and Republican. All right. So just showing you how America mirrors identical to Rome, because America is the second leg of Rome, which is prophesied. So we're in Bible prophecy. All right. And we're at the end of this kingdom of Edom. All right. So we went over that diversity and the 10 horns. All right. The 10 horns in this time of Rome, you had the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, if I'm saying that right, the Anglo-Saxons, the Alemanni, the Lombards, the Burgundians, the Hurrelli, Franks, Suelli. All right. So you had those 10 horns. Those 10 horns go also with the 10 toes. All right. Back in Daniel 2:42, it says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. All right. And those 10 toes represent Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and West Germany. Right. So now today you have what you call the EU, European Union. And these came out of the 10 common markets, which was of the Roman Empire. All right. So the 10 horns go right along with the 10 toes, which today is also called NATO. All right. Which I believe today you have 27, I believe 27 groups. And this is the beast. Okay, this is who the Yahushua is going to fight. So verse 8, it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now, it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. This little horn is prophecy. Okay, this is America. All right, America comes out of Great Britain. All right, and it says, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, which going into the 3 major wars, the America's Independent War. All right, the French and American War, the Spanish and American War. The 3 out of the 10 horns. All right. So that's why it says, behold, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And it says, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. All right. And that's America. All right. America, the mouth speaking great things is Esau being proud. All right. Real quick. Come back. Let's get a quick precept. This is Psalms 10 and verse 6. It says, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. And that's Esau's motto. Okay, that's the attitude he has. All right, he believes he's never going to be in adversity, you know, because he has a plan to upset prophecy. So he thinks. All right, this is why we're going through what we're going through now in 2021, which is their new world order. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay, Norris Aurum Seclorum, which is on the back of the dollar bill, which represents new world order. All right, I believe it means new order of the ages. All right, which really a representation of new world order. This is why they want to put microchips in you. And right now, people are walking antennas. All right, people arms and bodies are glowing up in the dark. Right? People are having magnets, stick to their bodies, basically becoming transhuman, because it leads up to Revelation 13:16. So anyway, it says, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn there were eyes. In this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and his mouth speaking great things. So I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Lord's elect. Shalom.